Hi, welcome to the Perspective Drawing System, 3D Drawing Systems. This is now our fourth lesson, and this time we're into true perspective, and we're looking at the 1-point perspective, which we will have touched upon in our previous video, and I would recommend you have a look at that one before you carry on with this one. So this is the step-by-step, simple, basic kitchen method for the 1-point perspective. Okay, we're looking at a drawing something like that, clear, 3D, and maybe with a little bit of rendering to make it look really saleable. So we need a plan in scale. As with all these drawings, we start from basic scale plan in the 1 to 20, and ideally an elevation of the back wall in scale. So we're showing the possible back wall in this particular case. First of all, you locate your horizon line. Now the normal horizon line is going to be eye level, okay, so that's the best view of the kitchen probably, and the default measurement of the eye level horizon line is 1600 millimeters. Then you choose your best vanishing point. Now you choose along that horizon line the best view to get the return wall. One wall might be more important than the other, so you bias it so you can see more of that wall, vice versa. If it's a U-shaped kitchen, maybe in the center, whatever seems to be best. You'll get used to choosing the right point. And this is to remind you that all the depth measurements must be drawn from the vanishing point through the back wall, which has been created in a 1 to 20 scale. So projecting the depth, okay? So let's assume that we're looking at a simple L-shaped kitchen. So all the lines are drawn or projected from the vanishing point through the measurements that we have. Obviously the floor is already there, and then the first division on the return wall will be 600, which of course you can measure in scale on the back wall. So we can then project the carcassing, okay? Sometimes it's also worthwhile producing a little grid for the floor, because you can use that for tiling as well. Now when you create the shapes, you need the sizes that we talked about before, base units, wall units, but the return measurements are using the perspective scale. Use the perspective scale ruler, it's simpler. So here we have a simple L-shaped kitchen, worktop height, default measurement 900 millimeter, worktop depth, default measurement 600, which of course you could have measured along the back wall, draw from your vanishing point through that measurement, and that will give you the depth of the return wall. But you need then, of course, using the perspective ruler, the internal dimensions or divisions of that group of units. Same with the wall units. Now the standard height for wall units is 2115. This is showing 900 high right up to the ceiling. Most people don't do that. So it's standard wall units 2115 to the top of the units, 715 high, maybe 700, maybe 600, maybe 570, and the standard depth of the wall unit is 300. It's probably just as well to always use that measurement. Now when you go to the next stage, you're going to remove all the hidden lines, tidy up architectural detail, doors, windows, etc. And then maybe some of the more individual furnished units, such as glazed units, open shelving. And then make the most attractive, saleable drawing you can. Shading, rendering, that will always make it look good. So exercise 1, let's just get ourselves a simple elevation, which we can then transform into a 1-point. So what we do is we tidy it up, make it a bit clean. We've chosen our vanishing point, see the little X up there. We then projected the worktop back in this case because we've already got the front of it which is in scale, so let's go back to create the depth, and we can use the perspective ruler to give us that depth. Okay, so now we're showing the worktop area within those two tall structures we got, and the bit in the center is obviously going to be an open shelving unit. So there's the worktop depth starting to come now, using the vanishing point dotted line, as we can see. Now we've got the back of the worktop dotted line. Now we've actually been able to profile the complete worktop, and now we've added the height to the worktop. So you can see very clearly that this is looking like a 3D presentation, and we're seeing a bit of worktop below the open shelving unit and between the two tall units. Now we're looking at projecting that back wall above the open shelving unit. And now we're seeing both sides. Now we're looking at a full profile on that back wall, but of course there's no depth, and because the vanishing point is the X above the open shelf, we can see the top of that open shelf but not the bottom. So we draw that. We've now been able to find the height of that space, the depth of that space, and we're looking a lot more like a 3D drawing now. So there we're going, full worktop shown, full depth above the unit. We've got an open shelf, we've got no depth within the unit. So obviously what we need to find now is the actual interior of that open shelf. So again, we're using our vanishing point, and we're projecting through the, if you like, now hidden corner of that space to the front of the open shelf. But what we've done is to put a bit of depth on the front lip of the open shelf so it looks more realistic. And using that technique all the way around the open shelf, we can now make a real credible looking open shelving unit. Okay, and you also see those three little blips underneath, which will be some downlighters. So we've done that bit, it looks okay, but why not now extend the drawing to give us more space? Maybe we can sell a bigger project, and it's also making a good exercise. So we can see we've extended it almost double the width, and then we're starting with the dotted line now to project the wall. So we've now got again an extended area, so maybe this is going to be, say, a laundry area. Okay, we've also now shown a thick worktop, so it's got a lot of meat in it, and we've now projected the profile of the units and the worktop to that completely new section on the right hand side. Now we're going to extend the drawing a bit with some architectural features, and again using the vanishing point we've now drawn the window, got a bit of a framing on the window, we can see the depth, and of course as you can see where the vanishing point is, we can see the bottom reveal, the top reveal and the right hand reveal, but not the left hand reveal. And then we're going into almost a complete room, so we're showing now the left hand side extending from that profiled tall unit. We haven't done anything about the main units, we've just sort of left them, but we're adding the detail now onto the right hand side. And here we've gone a bit further, we've got the definite floor line. You see how the location of the vanishing point brings that left-hand wall in. We wouldn't have been able to see much detail if there were units on that left-hand wall, but the right-hand wall is swinging right out, so if it was an L-shaped kitchen with that wall in units, then obviously the vanishing point in that position would be worthwhile. So you need to make sure you're locating the vanishing point for the best view of the room. Now we're showing that tall unit on the right hand of the open shelf. Now we're going to put that into a housing unit. So we've got a big tall double oven, we've got a microwave oven below it. We've now put an open shelf in there, a bit of breaking up the unit. Also gives the flexibility for the plan, so it might very well be instead of using a big filler where you're going to use the open shelf constructed to the exact size. We're showing the laundry on the right hand side, could be a washing machine, could be a dishwasher. We're showing the sink, and we've got a little bit of rendering just around the oven, microwave and the window, just to add a bit of colour to it. And here we've extended a bit further, so we're showing that on the open shelving side we've got perhaps a wooden profile door, a bit elaborate, more expensive. On the laundry side we're showing a simpler laminate melamine door, and perhaps even in a colour feature like we're showing here, but maybe continuing the worktop in the same colour. So we could do a lot more with that if we wanted to, putting colour on the doors on the left hand side, colour on the carcassing. And we've also thrown in a floor. Now most of your programs will be able to give you a textured floor, something like tiles, so it doesn't take a lot of imagination to put in those sort of details. So we can still do quite a lot more. We can obviously render the furniture area. We can add a hob perhaps. We can design a feature hood. We can put in ceiling texturing. We can add wall tiles. We could possibly add details like taps, plinth insets, worktop thicknesses with more detail. There's a lot of things we can do. A lot depends on time and how much effort you want to put in the drawing, and how much is it worth, okay? How much of your time is it worth? What sort of value can you get out of it? And then the next time we're going to be a bit more detailed. We'll look at those return wall measurements in a bit more detail, and we're going to possibly look at the rendering in a bit more detail than we've had time for today. So I hope you found it useful, and I hope you'll be able to come back and view our next lesson, part 2 of the 1 Point series.